Yo, how's it going, my dudes? It's your boy Lofi here, and I got a pretty crazy story time for you guys today. I'm not even joking. A couple of years ago, I had a neighbor who was like Walter White's cousin or something. El Chapo had nothing on this man, okay? This dude was definitely like the #1 drug runner of like my entire city. So back when I was but a wee little boy, okay? I was around 13 years old. I was in 8th grade. This was way before I was touching the marijuanas, okay? Indulging in the naughty sins of man. I was a good Christian boy who read his Bible every day and ate his spinach. I was a really good kid back then, alright? Like, I would read books during lunch, and I had absolutely no clue about how, drugs were sold, bought. I had no idea about any of that stuff. The most that I knew about drugs was the song Black and Yellow from Wiz Khalifa, and that he was, smoking a blunt in the music video. Literally, my entire knowledge of the world of the drugs was from music videos and CSI Miami. So when my neighbor was doing the stuff he was doing, I didn't even think anything of it. Now, he wasn't really like my neighbor, like he lived next door. At the time, I lived in these townhomes, and like across the street from these townhomes, there was like these other like really expensive, really nice like townhomes that were more for like retired people and like older people. That was like right on the cul-de-sac of that area. And that's where Mr. Walter White Jr. lived. Now, I walked by this cul-de-sac every single day when I came home from school. Because at the time, I just walked to school because it really wasn't that big of a deal, you know? It was like half a mile, probably less actually. It took me like 10 minutes to slowly walk from my house to the middle school I was going to at the time. Now, this was towards the end of my 8th grade year when I started noticing Mr. Walter White Jr. acting pretty strange. I would notice that he would always have different cars pulling up to his house and leaving constantly. Now, I was in school most of the time, so I never saw exactly how many people were pulling up to this house, but I remember during the spring breaks and on the weekends that I would go outside and ride my little scooter, I would notice there'd be a lot of cars pulling up to this guy's house, and they would all be walking out looking really excited and jittery. And I was always like, man, that guy is probably a really funny guy, you know, just gotten people bringing him over, having lots of fun. But turns out there was something sinister behind that joy. But you know, little old innocent Lofi didn't even think anything of it at the time. I remember this guy, okay, Mr. Walter White Jr., he would always say hi to me, okay? I'd be walking home from school. If he was out, you know, greeting his guests as they go about their way, leaving his house with this unprecedented happiness, he'd always say to me, "How you doing, son? You have a good day?" And I would always be like, "Yeah, Mr. Walter White Jr., I had a great day at middle school. You know, all the bullying for bringing my Beyblades definitely didn't make me sad as shit." So, you know, I thought he was pretty much a really chill guy, you know? I was like, oh yeah, he just has a lot of friends that come over to his house and leave really happy. I do remember one day when I was riding my Razor scooter down that hill into the cul-de-sac, there was like this little drainage area like this. It was about like 3 feet wide, maybe 4 feet, where like the water would drain by like into the ground. It was like the perfect little jump to like, you know, do some cool little scooter tricks I could do back then. But it was like right next to this cul-de-sac where his house was. Now, I don't know if this was maybe his daughter or his, like, girlfriend or some shit. I really don't know. She came out one day and was like, "Hey, I need you to stop doing your scooter over there because, like, if you get hurt, you could sue me and I could, like, lose all my money." And I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, I'm 13. I just want to, like, ride my scooter, dude. Like, she was being a super big Karen about it. And I remember, like, he came out and was like, "Hey, let the boy be. He's just riding his scooter." And she, like, went back in like, if we get sued and lose all our money, I'm going to be mad." Which was honestly so weird. I was just like, dude, I'm riding my scooter. If I get hurt, it's my own fault. Like, what? This lady was over here talking about me suing her because I was technically on her property. I don't know, man. She was spurging out, okay? And I honestly didn't know why she was acting so crazy, you know? She was just acting very sporadic. Her pupils were dilated, almost like she was on some type of drug. But because I was a good little boy and I didn't want to cause any problems, I just, you know, left and decided to go back home. But on my way home, I noticed that there was a brand new, lifted, big-ass F-150 sitting in his driveway. Like, this was a brand new car. I'd never seen it before. And I was like, oh my god, this old guy must be banking, dude. What does he do for a living? And then I saw this guy pull up into the driveway, get out his car, and knock on the door, and they start talking, and I didn't hear what they said, okay? Something about, "Hey, I'm here for," and then blah, 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 because, you know, I was just scootering away. Again, I didn't really think anything of it, because I just thought this was a chill guy who had lots of friends coming over to his house all the time. Now, a couple months go by, and it wasn't really until, like, the summer of, like, right before I went to high school. I was in marching band, so, of course, as some of you guys may or may not know, the marching band meets during the summer to do, you know, a bunch of, like, a little band camp or whatever for, like, the new people and to just, you know, get into marching stuff. And I had noticed one day when I came back from band camp and I decided to ride my scooter out, I had noticed that his truck was missing. Like, it wasn't there anymore, but he was home because I saw him walk into his house. And I was like, hey, Mr. Walter White Jr. And he just turned around with this, like, mean look in his eyes. Like, he was, like, ready to just, like, stab somebody. He just, like, didn't say anything and just went right back inside. That was honestly the first time that I ever noticed that something might have been off about that guy. Now, a couple of weeks go by. I'm fully in high school now, okay? This is my freshman year. I got off the bus one day, and I was walking back home with my French horn in my hand, and I see like 5-6 cop cars and Mr. Walter White Jr. in handcuffs as they bring huge bags of white stuff out of his house. I'm not even joking. Like, I watched the police bring this man out of this house in handcuffs and shove him in a cop car where they had like 4 other cop cars there while they just like had guys and, you know, like gloves, like the CSI team bringing out all this evidence of like what was clearly huge bags of cocaine. And it was at that moment that I knew why Mr. Walter White Jr. was so chill. It's because he was zooted like 90% of the time. Like, this was like an older guy. This dude was like in his 60s. Like, he had white hair. I had never suspected that this dude would have been like a big drug lord or something, okay? This is like the drug dealer at a retirement home type beat. Like, I swear to God, they pulled out at least 2 or 3 pounds of cocaine out of this man's house. It was like the most shocking thing I had ever seen at that age, man. Like, I had never expected him to be like some crazy drug lord, but he was there getting arrested, and then there was all the drugs. And then I started to make all the connections, like the people constantly coming and going from his house. That one Karen who was like super cracked out, who was yelling at me about getting sued because I was scootering on her property. Like, all the dots just connected, and I was like, oh my God. Like, it all makes sense now. The reason why he had a brand new, like, $100,000 truck just sitting in his driveway one day. Honestly, the number one dead giveaway should have been the fact that he constantly had people coming in and out of his home, like, all the time. But dude, I was so naive. I just didn't get it until after I saw, the cops bring out the big bags of drugs. But, yeah, that's the story of how, my elderly neighbor got arrested for being a literal crack dealer. If you guys enjoyed this storytime video, slap a fat like on it, and if you're new, subscribe. I would really appreciate that. I've got, like, so many more story times that I want to tell, but, like, they're more, not exactly YouTube friendly, so, like, I've been putting off telling more of these stories because I know they're all gonna get demonetized, but at this point, I'm just like, screw it. I'm gonna tell them just to tell them. It's gonna suck that not as many people are probably gonna see them because YouTube doesn't like pushing out videos that don't have the good green symbol, but if you guys want to see more of these videos, let me know down in the comments below. Also, make sure to subscribe to my podcast, the Moobcast I make with a couple of my friends, Keat and Dumpy. You know, that's Lady McTitties. Make sure to check that out. Also, make sure to follow me over on Twitch. I do be streaming sometimes. And, yeah, all that will be linked down in the description below. Anyways, I really hope you guys all had a fantastic day. I've been Lofi. Peace out, my dudes.